Hey, it's a weekly forecast in like a gardening shed area. I'm digging deep and I'm clearing out the weeds of my mind. And hopefully you've been clearing out the weeds in your mind here as we're in between two eclipses. We're heading to the second eclipse, the new moon eclipse. It's going to happen on the 21st, pretty much at 29 degrees Virgo. I'm not really going to talk about that. I'm going to make a separate video for that, but I want to do a little bit of a quick forecast for the week. As for the 15th, as we get into September at 8:03 p.m., we have Venus at the later degrees here of Leo. It's going to finally leave here and making a harmonious, really cool conduit sextile with Mars in Libra. Finally, Mars has a way here of doing something in Libra, like from fire to air. I think this is a pretty good indication and a place to go if we need to free flow our relating situations. From Mars to Venus, we need this considering how Mercury and Jupiter have been part of the eclipse cycle here. I know some of you have been doing really well actually during the eclipse cycle and kind of like found your groove in it. Maybe you started off the eclipse weekend that happened, that full moon eclipse at 15 degree Pisces, that you kind of found some chill time. And then after that weekend, and we just went through this last week, you went on the phone or you went on the internet and it wasn't chill time. Or you had certain situations in your life weren't chill time. And then maybe you like, well, I'm going to step back out. I'm going to like separate myself from that mind virus, that mind overwhelming mind that you're catching from the outside world or maybe from other people. There's some of you maybe who've been on that mind thing and have probably realized how taxed you are. And I hope you have found the way to separate yourself from the overstimulating mental activity that's been around. I think it's associated in this eclipse cycle because of Mercury. Mercury's not here out to get you, as I did on a live stream late Friday night. I'll put that link here. I know some of you here unsubscribe from me whenever I do my live streams, and I don't really give a shit because I got to do my flow. And everybody who came on that live stream and called in and had some interesting sentences to give, I saw the way that you were finding your oasis place to separate from the overriding mind. And then, as we did that live stream and went into this past Saturday when Mercury went into the heart of the sun, I think maybe some of you found the clarity that you've been looking for in this eclipse realm. A singular focus, a singular point of focus that hopefully has brought you calm and clarity. Can you take that into this week, into Monday, where Venus and Mars are having a sextile, where there is a diplomatic but passionate conversation that happens that I think is creative, right? That's creative and lends itself to openness and a connectiveness that brings harmony, at least for a brief moment. And this is all happening while the moon is in Cancer here, that started here on the 14th at 5:30 p.m. on the Sunday where I'm at. And that moon in Cancer goes all the way into late night on the 16th to Tuesday. And that Tuesday itself on the 16th is Venus at the later degrees there of Leo, also trines Chiron in Aries. I think this is going on for the last couple days. And then you see Mars is opposite Chiron. So basically we have a Mars and Libra opposite Aries situation, and that can be sort of unbalanced or passive aggressive. But I think Venus and Leo creates a point for the two to connect. And that's why I'm saying here that for at least a couple days in the beginning of this week, I think we have a good feeling, and we can find a good feeling. And it stems, if you're looking to find the good feeling or the place to feel home where emotions aren't erratic, we look to actually Venus and Leo here for a couple days, because at the end of this transit, Venus and Leo loves to share and loves to reciprocate. And not only that, is generous in its passion and feeling, reminding us of what we have inside of us, which is this ball of light that drives us. It makes the world spin around, and that ball of light is creativity. That ball of life is sensuality. That ball of life is an expression from that place, and in a sense puts a salve to Chiron and Aries, and also reminds Mars and Libra that they don't have to play the chess game, the political relationship chess game all the time. Let loose, will ya? Just show yourself. Get past that, right? Not to talk shit about Mars and Libra stuff, but, you know, sometimes you've heard it on this channel before. I think Mars, in a sense, doesn't as function as well as Venus could, right? But considering Venus is in Leo, ruling where Mars in Libra is, Venus in Leo gives Mars in Libra a opportunity to express itself in a genuine, heartfelt way. It's not all in the mind. It comes from somewhere else. Thank you, Venus and Leo, for showing us your bit of honey. And so saying that, we go into the 17th where the moon will be in Leo. And that's when Mercury at 10:47 a.m. Pacific on September brings this interesting eclipse story right back after a couple days break, it seems. And it's because Mercury will be opposite Saturn in Pisces. And here is where we have a serious conversation. And Saturn wants that. But here's the cool thing about this. Saturn in Pisces right now, we're back here again, right? It's at 29, 28 degrees. It will go all the way back to 25, or eventually it will move forward, and early next year will go back in Aries for good, right? Or at least for another close to 30 years. But here, the conversation that Mercury brings, I think, is very clean and clear, considering what it's been through for the last week and a half. It went through the eclipse. It went through some harmonious connections with Jupiter and Cancer last week, which, if you watch my video on the eclipse, the full moon eclipse in Pisces, I talked about the Jupiter oasis and what it means for each rising sign. Now, Mercury in Virgo had its connection with Jupiter not too long ago. It came through this past weekend, like I mentioned, went through the heart of Sun with clear intention, rid of the extracurricular need for perfection in the mind, balancing with the North Node in Pisces that is ruled by Jupiter. And here we are, Mercury's all of a sudden confronted by Saturn in Pisces, and it's asking to even look back to February, March, and April of this year in the Virgo and Pisces parts of your chart. These eclipses are representative of it. And now when we go on a macro scale, Mercury and Saturn are meeting. And Saturn always, when you meet Saturn or it confronts you, it's a check-in. It's a reality check. Even in Pisces, if you've been doing the work, what happened 6 months ago in those parts of your chart? What have you said? What have you thought of? Right? And I think here Mercury is grateful to run into Saturn. The reason is in the end, Mercury and Virgo does want a regiment, right? It does want a schedule. It does want form. And Saturn and Pisces, for the last time here, with Mercury and Virgo, it's going to say, hey, it's like a test. Can you pass this? Can you graduate, right? And I think part of this is going to be connected to next March when we do a full moon in Virgo. Will be an eclipse that's going to happen here. That will be one of the final tests for this Virgo Pisces nodal story. So Saturn here, in a sense, steps in front of the path of Mercury and says, hey, you want to solidify this? You want to make this real? So this Mercury coming out of the sun and coming out of an eclipse place where things were purged in the Virgo part of your chart and now has some clarity, it even becomes more crystallized with Saturn on the opposite end. And if you need a little more detail with this, we can always go back to Jupiter and Cancer. It's a feeling thing. In the end, when you have water and you have earth, water needs to express itself, and it needs something stable, and it needs a concrete vessel in order to move an emotional story forward. So that's the way I would think about it. If you're having some challenges in the Pisces, Virgo parts of your chart, take a look at the Cancer part of your chart and connect the two. Speak the word, not words, or maybe speak one sentence out loud here when we do the Mercury-Saturn opposition that happens on Wednesday. Make that clear statement that represents the Pisces and Virgo parts of your chart and try to find the middle point between the two that balances the need for Virgoian detail and precision for the faith and hope and optimism and trust in the unknown that Pisces does. And can you find the middle place? And can there be a statement that you say to yourself or to the outside situation that crystallizes this and defines it? So we do that, and we take that crystallization, hopefully for you, into the next day on the 18th, where in the middle of the night, all of a sudden, Mercury leaves Virgo now and goes into Libra here and speeds right through, and all of a sudden the conversations are going to change. It's not going to be about data. It's not going to be about being perfect. It's going to be about like creating nice, harmonious, tranquil conversations where we listen to the and talk about the aesthetics of life and how we relate to those aesthetics and how we relate to ourselves, to people in the world, and we try to do it in a very calm, graceful way. That's how Mercury and Libra likes to run. That happens on the 18th, right off the bat then though. Within hours, Mercury and Libra now, as a switch up, is seen on the opposite end by Neptune. And so the creative word here all of a sudden is very important, but also illusions. And the not quite truth. Is everything being said the way it should be out loud? Mercury in Libra has a tendency to candy the words to create the sale, to create the binding contract on the scales of Libra, right? But if Neptune's on the opposite side of it, is it really clear? I think it becomes clear after you do Neptunian function, which I am suggesting creativity. It's poetry. It's the song, right? Mercury's in Libra. It's Venus ruled, right? It's the poetry. It's the song. It's the expression. Right? That's the way to use it here, at least in the beginning with Neptune. The other way is if it's a manipulative chess game that's going on with Libra activities and relating, can I get this or can I get them to do that for me? I'll say anything, even if it comes across as candy. Then is it real with Neptune there? Right? One can use that to their advantages to charm somebody, but if there's a certain intention behind the charm that isn't, say, grounded and valid, and really have true balance involved for the two people or two situations that are relating, then I don't think it flows. I think the lie gets found out, or the imaginative words are seen for what they are, right? So it's a couple different ways of looking at it, but listen, there's another curveball in all this, and it's Uranus, because the same day Mercury's touching Uranus, and Uranus in Gemini, retrograde, is going to touch with the other fellow air sign, Mercury in Libra, and I think this is the place. I think if one's trying to be clear the day before with Saturn, then they come in with Neptune, and they're trying to have a diplomatic conversation with themselves and the world, right? There's a switch up that's happening here with Mercury. I think Uranus brings a different way of doing it. So what I'm telling you this week is, think about the words that you speak to yourself and to others, whether it's the email, hopefully there's a love letter in your life. Write a love letter to yourself, but find a different way and some different words and a different expression to do it in than before. And this feeds in to the eclipse story, actually. And I think this is where Mercury is transforming what had happened during the eclipse, right? When we had that eclipse at this point, when in the forecast, it's a week and a half before, at full moon, and the journey that it's doing while it left that eclipse place, overdoing mind, overdoing in Virgo, part of your chart, a system that doesn't work anymore, something that needs to be cut out. And Mercury's kind of doing that and trying to figure its way out. And everything I said in the beginning of this forecast till now, all of a sudden we get to this place with Mercury, and there's a different way of using the mind, and we want to use it creatively, right? So try to take a suggestion of mine and do that when Mercury's opposite Neptune. Mercury trines Uranus, and then later on late night on the 18th, we have a trine with Pluto. So pretty much Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto all touch Mercury within 12 hours or 24 hours. That happens between the 17th and 18th. I wish I was on that plane, by the way. I don't know if you heard that plane. I wish I was on a plane. Anyway, so saying that's the Gemini in me. I gotta be back up in the sky flying around. We have the heavy hitters. in astrology touching Mercury this week. It's the huge potential to be inspiring, to be different, and to look at the bigger pictures of things, where the eclipses don't have to be heavy. Doesn't have to be that way, right? We take that into the 19th, and it's 5:23 a.m. on Friday. The moon goes into Virgo, a mercurial-ruled sign, to start its journey as in a balsamic phase until we get to the new moon on the 21st. As it does this, Venus then finally leaves Leo and goes into Virgo. And then we have another power-packed Virgo weekend that pretty much goes from the 19th to the 20th to the 21st. Venus in Virgo then, even for the next month, is going to hit all the degrees that the sun did and these eclipses did and that Mercury did in Virgo. And so the eclipse story continues and can progress on your end, right? I just don't want you to think that after the eclipses are done, the story's done. And I'm also saying to try not to wallow in some eclipse story, that there's movement, that we use the planets in astrology to progress a story forward, even if you don't have the answers, but to find a regulated place, because down the line, the answers will come to you. I think some of the answers are now for people who have been directly affected mathematically, degree-wise, in their chart with the eclipses. Some of you aren't that close to it, but you still have the story going on in the Pisces, Virgo part of your chart. In the next couple months, it's there, right? So basically, Venus, in its ways of relating and wanting to love, happens in a precise way with Virgo, and it happens through tasks. It's like a love language. It's through tasks and service and work, right? And we don't want to be overcritical in how we do that, and especially with those on the outside of us. But through service, acts of service, if it's a harmonious relationship, we can transmute and we can move an eclipse story along, you know? So saying that, that happens with Venus going there on the 19th. We get into the 20th on a Saturday, then Venus will square Uranus in Gemini. We've got mutable signs at 8:41, and then later on that night, the sun will be at the last degrees pretty much of Virgo, will be opposite Saturn. So you see Saturn and Uranus and Neptune this week. They're all in on the game here for a bigger picture, a bigger something that really sets up a story here for next March for a different video, excuse me. And then we get into the 21st, which we pretty much at 12:54 p.m. we will have the new moon at 29 degrees Virgo. Again, I'm going to pull another video about this and just kind of connect it to the first eclipse video that I did a couple weeks ago at that point, or a week and a half before that. And that's your quick forecast. If you want some weird way of looking at this forecast, I talked about these transits for the week in my live stream video that I did on Friday. There's no chapter markers. It's about an hour and a half, but I did a free flow. I took phone calls live on air. I had my own versions. I did my weird meditations. I spoke poetry. I did a card pull. I did whatever it takes to get out of here in a different way. I did whatever it takes for me to gain some outside perspective on whatever weird situations are in my world, which isn't that weird actually, but for the stories I've heard from clients in the last couple of weeks, for the stuff that every time I turn on my phone and look at the news and the politics, all the extracurricular distraction that gets you away from your home and your heart and regulation. You haven't figured it out on this channel. I might not have the best edited videos. On IG, I don't do the perfect carousels and reels talking super fast and creating gimmicks. I don't do it. Could I do it? I sure could. It's a waste of time for me, actually. It's a waste of time wondering about the algorithm and how many likes and follows I could get, or seeing whatever else can do. That's kind of my story. Clear out my mind. That stuff doesn't even matter. What does matter? What does make me calm, grounded, where my body and mind are balanced, where I'm not spinning off into something else and hours go by, or I'm worrying and having anxiety about something that I can't control? Do you have similar situations in your life? Astrology is huge. It can be so complicated and so broad, and there's so many techniques, so many people, so many YouTube channels, so many profiles. You connect with the ones that you like, and then there's the ones you don't like. To each their own. But pay attention here, and have you been paying attention in the last couple weeks about where you gravitate towards with your mind? And when you find yourself gravitating towards certain places, do you feel calm right? And do you feel grounded, or at least the attempt of it? Or are you scattered all over the place, wound up, nervous system's jacked up, no sleep, worrying about this, worrying about that? I get it. Worrying about the world and how it seems to be so messed up. But what are you going to do about it? Stay in that wound up place? You got to find the other situations. The guilt and the shame that comes from disconnecting to something that you feel like you should be a part of or be paying attention to, when there's nothing you can do about it or don't have any say in it, whether it's an external event or another person. What do you have control over? And what do you have control over in your mind? And if you do have control over something, then what choice would you make? Is it some fiction book that you get pleasantly lost in while you surf the astrological transits because not everything can be solved in a day or 2 weeks? Can you take a broader perspective about there's a couple simple things in your life that keep you on the path, that give you a sense of direction, and at the same time quiets your mind, which informs your body, or your body informs your mind that everything's going to be okay. It's not perfect, but if I put my energy, or I put my mind, my thoughts into this, or to what I say to myself, I feel pretty good for the day. And the next day is another day, and you deal, right? So we could take a macro level and we break things down. That's how I'm going to end my video here. Go find the song. Go find the book. Go write the song. Write something to yourself. Go take that walk with a loved one. Tell somebody that you love them, that you haven't told them, or you feel like it's safe enough to do. Whatever it is, find the chill place this week and use Mercury here as it touches the outside planets to give you a bigger perspective of things, the bigger picture. And when you can do that, and if you can do that, what would you like that bigger picture to be? So am I pushing hope and a vision here when it seems at the hardest of times? Fuck yeah, I am. Why not? Why not say yes to that? And even if you do it and it still doesn't seem that way in 2 weeks, what choice are you going to do again? You want to go back to another way of thinking? Or another place that it's become habit that just jacks you up mentally and physically where you don't feel right? We make our little choices, right? We make our little choices day by day. And when we find the sweet spot, next thing you know, it's regimen. Next thing you know, it's habit. And next thing you know, we have rewired something within ourselves. So if you're going to take any message here during the eclipse season, is that can you slowly rewire and find the balance between Pisces and Virgo? All right. I'll have more to say on this later in the week. Thanks to my Patreon members. I'm dropping another 3 questions video for my channel members and Patreon members only in the next 24 hours from this video. I got another quick interview I'm going to throw up in there. And I'm still kind of moving around and traveling. My Patreon and channel members, they got a discount code right now that lasts to the end of the month. You want to get a session and do any of that, hit me up. If you're not a member, you can join. You can see the stuff down there and copy. You can subscribe to this channel, right? Maybe you're new and you made it this far, right? Not only you made it this far, you made it this far in life, regardless of what's gone on in your life. You're at this point watching me, looking at me, and I'm looking at you, and we've made it this far. So don't give up, my friends. Don't give up, okay? On that note, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.